Guys, great.
Hold on,
It's on.
Oh, it's on? You can
Yeah.
see me?
I can see you. Fantastic.
Okay, so here is everyone.
Great. So, special thanks to you, Ashaki, for reaching out and to all of you for being here. I'm so happy. And doing a hybrid program is always complicated, but we're going to make our way through, aren't we? Because I'm in snowy, rainy New England, and you're in Baltimore, where I think you might have more snow than I have. The world is upside down. So I'm really happy that Ashaki and Joey could figure out a way for me to be with you all today. I have some slides that I'd like to show you, but first I wanted to say one thing. You might be sitting here either at home or at the senior center, at the Bicota Senior Center, thinking, did I come to the right workshop? Am I in the right place? Is this for me? I'll have what they're having, by the way, is a great line from a movie that maybe you might have remembered. If anybody remembers what the name of the movie is, either just shout it out or put it in the chat. We'll give you extra credit. I'm not sure what the extra credit will give you, but it's always fun to say that. If anybody can remember.
It's from Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally, excellent! What a brilliant crowd. Okay, so that line was actually, I'll have what she's having, because you might remember she had this great ability to kind of like vocalize an orgasm in a New York City deli, and it was quite funny. And it was actually Rob Reiner's mother who was saying that line in from the peanut gallery. But I've changed it to I'll have what they're having, because I feel like we're living in a new gendered reality, and so I wanted to make it for all. But you might wonder, what the heck am I doing here? Dr. Jane Fleischman, a sex educator, is going to talk to me about sex, and I'm an older person. Is this right? Well, let me tell you something. Whether you're single, and that means either newly single because of either divorce or separation or death of your spouse, or you're a longtime single, or you're partnered. Either you're married or you're in a relationship. You're either living together or not. You're heterosexual or you're an LGBTQ elder. Or you're looking for love, or you're looking for sex, or you're just looking for fun, or you're in a rut. Or you haven't had sex, like really good sex in a long time, and you're wondering, am I too old for this? Is this really in the cards for me? The answer is yes. In fact, I did a TED Talk a few years ago, right when I was getting out of my PhD program in human sexuality. By the way, I got my PhD when I was 62, and if you ever want a challenge when you're older, go back to school with young people. It is really a challenge. Anyway, I did this TED Talk, and the name of the TED Talk is it okay for grandma to have sex? And if you haven't figured it out yet, the answer is resoundingly yes. So this workshop, wherever you're at, whatever your situation is, this workshop is for you, because sex is not just for young people. In fact, Peggy Brick, who's a wonderful sex educator who's passed now, wrote a great book called Older, Wiser, Sexually Smarter. Isn't that great? And actually, if you read the New York Times Magazine section on Sunday, there was a whole story about sex over 50. I think of 50 as kind of young now. I'm 70, but they thought of it as old. Anyway, this workshop is going to be a bit of thinking, a bit of feeling, and a little bit of also research and some practical ideas. And hopefully at the end, we'll have some time for you to ask some questions if you'd like. And all questions are welcome. And if I don't know the answer, I'll be happy to try to find it out. Okay, so Ashaki and Joey, let me see if I can share my screen. And how does that look? Joey, does that look okay?
Looks good to me.
Okay, so I'm as I said, I'm a PhD and also a master's in education in human sexuality. But most importantly, I chose to be a ASECT certified sexuality educator. ASECT is our national organization, the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. And I teach classes for older adults all over the country and actually in some other countries. I just got invited to speak in South Africa, which is pretty cool. And what I'm going to present to you today is what I believe is some of the most really exciting and interesting work that's being done around older adult sexuality. Because when I was doing my dissertation, I was really looking for a way to find any kind of positives about older adult sexuality. And all I could find were what I call the problematizing, that's not a real word, problematizing sensibility about older adults that we can't get it up, we're too dried up, we're over the hill, all these negatives. So I set out to find some of the positives, and I did. So I'm going to talk about some of my research later, but other people's research as well. So here's our agenda. What does sex mean as we age? Um, as I said, I'll talk about some of the most recent studies, some of the challenges and possibilities, and this idea of emergent pleasure.
Excuse me, I apologize, Dr. Fleischman. There's a box that is covering the screen, and I'm not sure if everyone else can see that, but it's on the slides.
Whereabouts is it?
Um,
Like on the top
like
or the bottom?
bottom,
I
bottom
see it as
middle.
well. It's like right where your cursor is actually. So
Okay. Joey, can you help me here? Do you know anything about
I
this?
I really don't think I can. So um,
I think it's that toolbar. How about if I push that down? Did that help? No.
No, a
Uh,
little bit. It's like a glitch. That one little box went away, but now there's still the second box right where your
can
cursor
you
is.
can you go to like the next page and maybe come back, see if that
yeah.
helps?
Okay. Let's see. How's that? Still
Nope,
there?
still there.
Yeah.
I don't, I am technologically incapable of figuring this out. And I don't know I don't know how to change it. Let
Do
me
you
try
want
one.
me to try? Because it's one of the slides that you emailed, right? Maybe I can try and you can let me know when to go to different screens
Uh, sure.
if you want to do it that way. All right.
Um, sure.
Hold on a second. Let me open it up from what you sent.
Okay. Um, well, while you're doing that, let's begin with a body scan. Okay. So we don't really need that slide for this, Ashaki. So you keep working.
Oh, okay. Well, I got it open, but if you, yeah, I have it open and it's clear. I have it open in the PDF.
But mine was clear, not on. Let's try it on the screen and see. Oh, the
All right.
PDF.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
No, that's not going to really work. The PDF isn't going to work. You need the actual slides
Oh, okay.
because we have a video.
Got you.
All right, let's try it one more time. Um,
Yeah, I can't download it on my work computer. It won't let me down. I can't download it on here.
um, what do you think, Ashaki? Can you see that thing again?
Let's see. Yeah, it's still there. It's actually worse now.
It's worse.
That's a little bit better. Whatever you just did, one of the squares disappeared. But just go ahead, Dr. Fleischman. I mean,
Okay.
it'll
Okay.
have to be fine.
The good news, guys, is that I will be happy to send you my slides. So if you miss any words on it, do not worry. Okay.
All right.
Ashaki already has the PDF of my slides, and I'm happy to share them. So let's begin by just getting comfortable wherever you're sitting. If you're home or if you're in the senior center, just put your feet both on the ground, put your hands on your lap. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that, or just kind of, if you don't want to close your eyes, just send your gaze downwards so that your eyelids are a little bit lower. And take 3 deep breaths with me. And take a moment. Now go back to your regular breathing and take a moment to just notice your body, anything that might be hurting, anything that's a little uncomfortable. Maybe the seat you're in is not so comfortable. Maybe the lighting isn't so comfortable. Whatever it is, just notice maybe your neck or your shoulders, any part of your body that feels any kind of pain or discomfort. Now, I do this every morning before I get out of bed. I do this little body scan, and then I notice what part of my body isn't feeling good that day. And by the way, at my age, it changes. Some days it's my hip, some days it's my neck, some days it's my glutes. It just doesn't necessarily always land on the same body part. And what I do is I send some love to that part of my body. And I literally, to myself, I say, I love and I fill in the blank. And I do it every day. Now, I can promise you this is not going to make the pain go away. This is not Jane Fleischman's elixir for, reindeer horns. This is not that kind of thing. It will not make the pain go away. It just changes the way I think about that body part. You get what I'm saying? So take 3 more deep breaths. And once you're done with that, I want you to open your eyes or bring your gaze back to where you are in the room, at the senior center, or at home. And if you could, just either out loud say one thing that you noticed, or in the chat, just put one thing that you noticed. Anything? Anybody have that they noticed? And Ashaki, if you could help me, just, I can't see anybody.
Okay, so we're unmuted, so if you guys just want to yell out something, you can, or I can type it in the chat for you. I'm gonna put the screen. Can you see them a little bit better now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Anybody, what did you notice?
A feeling of release.
Oh, nice. Great. Thank you. That's beautiful. Anybody else?
How about that I wasn't sitting, at good posture?
She said that she wasn't sitting with good posture.
Yeah, tell me about it. I feel like I sometimes have scoliosis. I like lean in so much. I got to sit with good posture. Yes, thank you for noticing. Great. Well, one more. I just want to hear one more. What did it feel like to check in with yourself and your body? Anyone? Okay. All right. Well, I offer this to you as an activity that you might try to really change that notion of, that joke about the organ recital? You've heard that? When we get older, it's one of those negative ageist jokes that we used to laugh at, and I try not to laugh at them anymore. But, you know, uh, my organs, my liver, my heart, my lungs, et cetera, it like they were all starting to fail. And so this is a way to challenge ageism around our bodies. The next thing I wanted to do is just let you know who I am and tell you a little bit about how I got here. I spent 30 years as a public sector employee in the state sector in Connecticut. And I was a director of education and staff development at a big psychiatric facility. And then I got to retire at age 55. But I wasn't really ready to stop work. I was ready to make trouble. And I wanted to make a little bit more trouble, and I wasn't sure how to do it. So I decided I'd go back to school and try to get my PhD, which, as I said before, was really a challenge for me. And I loved it, and I had a great time. And I started this new career. And the last day of school, one of our professors said to us, "So now that you're done, what are you going to be doing with your education?" And most of the students were in their 20s, some in their 30s. I was the only one in my 60s. And most of them said, "I don't know. I don't even know if I can do this." And I raised my hand. I said, I think I want to work with my age group. And nobody had ever done that before. Nobody had started working with older adults. They were working with kids or with new parents or people in the military, but they weren't working with anybody who is an elder. So I'm really happy that was able to start this career 10 years ago and I'm still at it. So let's get going. I have a short video here and I hope you can hear it. It's very quiet, so turn the speakers up on your system. And this was a video created a few years ago by a film student at the University of Southern California. And what she did was she went and interviewed a whole bunch of older adults and she asked them about sex. And even though it's a little bit dated and a little bit monoculturalist, it's all white people and they're mostly Jewish. It was the only thing I could find on the web that is real people talking about sex who are older. And it only takes 5 minutes, and I'd love for you to watch it with me. So it starts out very soft, and then it gets a little louder, and it's called Backseat Bingo. So let's see how this goes. It's always a challenge for me to see if I can do this.
Do you want? The most romantic thing is the moment when I ask her, do you want to go to bed with me?
The first time I said no.
So a few days later, I asked her again, and she agreed. This was the most romantic, wasn't it? The most romantic thing. My name is David Piello Brother.
My name is Ruth Cooper, and my age is 17.
I was born in 1980.
My age is 92.
My name is Sunga Greisman Rubin, and I'm 84, going on 85.
How old am I?
Well, I truly believe you stay young because of sex.
At 18, we just wanted a sex object. At 75, you may still want sex. You're not sure you're going to get it, but you're looking for comfort.
I've always wanted romance in my life. Really love, and I think you need it all your life. You need it all your life. You need to be touched. You need to be felt. You need to be hugged. You need to be kissed.
Companionship is very important.
So we cover it up with, well, I don't need men in my life, and I'm past my desires. Baloney. I don't think you ever get past your sexual desires.
I adore it, and I'm not ashamed of it.
You need to look at it. He's a very sensual man.
Very.
Listen, I've had so many boyfriends, I can't even count them on my fingers and toes.
Most of the men my age or better are either dead, looking for a nurse or a purse, or sick.
I'm short, reserved, self-conscious, eager to please. I'm compassionate, a good listener.
I used to always look for a good-looking man and good dancers. That's what counted. And dress well. Oh, God forbid they should dress
She
well.
would be a non-smoker.
Yes, pretty, beautiful also.
He has to have his shit together.
Kindness, consideration, sparkle in their eyes.
That tips well.
And no Republicans, please.
But there is something about a senior citizen community that you realize that you are mortal, You see too many people around you, and you know that someday you're going to say bye-bye too.
Unfortunately, I've outlived just about every one of my friends.
At this age, there isn't much time for independence. You just think there's just a few years left, and you want to do as much as possible togetherness.
When my husband died, he was 52. I took off my wedding ring and I said to myself, I wonder what's around the corner for me. And I think instead of sitting and saying, oh, he died, I always looked forward.
The person in my age who has the capacity of doing sex, this is the highest thing in the world, the greatest achievement in the world. And the pleasure is unbelievable.
This business of saying a man uses a woman for a one-nighter, what about a woman using a man? Is that terrible?
Okay, I'm going to stop it there and let you know that if you're interested in that little clip, you can get it online. It's just, it's free. So what I like about this video is that it's real people talking about real issues. And I love when she said, you know, one of the women said, at 18, I wanted a sex object. At 75, I want sex, comfort. And really, I would say intimacy is another big issue up there. So thanks for watching. I'm going to keep us moving. So I've got a lot of material today. And I wanted to ask you what sex means to you as you age. And this is just for you to reflect on. This is really just to be a thought experiment. The first is, what messages has our culture given us about sex as we age? What does sex mean to me as I've aged? So it's two different things. It's what is out there, what is the sort of the main, you know, the main messages we get about sexuality as we age, and then what does sex mean to me as I've aged? And feel free to think about that as we continue along with my presentation, and maybe we can have some discussion about that at the end. Okay? So, as I said, there's a few articles out there now that are really excellent and really wonderful. When I started my research on my dissertation, there wasn't that much, but I'm going to give you a few. So, first of all, Harris and Orth did this really cool, what's called a meta-analysis. Are you familiar with that term? They basically did an analysis of about 40 studies that had been done about this idea of correlating how you feel about yourself with how you feel about your relationship. And they found that there were correlates with intimacy at any age, and that positive self-esteem, self-regard, and sexual identity were all associated with intimate relationships. And what that means is, if I'm feeling good about myself, it really reflects on my ability to have a relationship with someone else. Because we know the reverse is true. The second research article that I wanted to talk about, and by the way, Harrison Orth had a very robust sample. They had about 40,000 participants overall in all of these 40 studies that they looked at. Now, John Delamater and his colleague at the University of Wisconsin, John was one of our most esteemed sex researchers and just passed away a few years ago, looked at the key factors of sexual function as we age, because people always would say, you know, it's my body. I can't really make sex work anymore with my body. That could be true, but he found that there were four factors that were really important to look at sexuality as we age, and the first one was good physical and mental health. Right, that's that one. The second, though, was really interesting. It was having a positive attitude about sexuality. The third was having access to a sexual partner. Makes sense. And so he really looked at this idea that we have to challenge the kind of prevailing notion that our bodies are what's stopping us. But in fact, it might be how we're feeling about ourselves or how we're feeling about sexuality as we age. Maggie Syme and her colleagues did a really interesting qualitative analysis where they asked people, what does sex mean to you at your age? And a lot of people were saying that really different answers. So if you were thinking about this idea of what does sex mean to me as I age, what she found was that it's a multi-dimensional set of ideas that some people really felt very excited about being sexual as an older person, and some people felt like I've had it before, I'm done, my partner is no longer with me, and I'm not interested in anymore. And she said that that spectrum from one end to, excuse me, to another is what she calls the multidimensionality. It's not monolithic, how young people often see older people's sexuality. Lee and colleagues found that regular sexual expression was very important, and that Beverly Whipple and her colleagues back in 2007 found a whole range of health benefits from what they called regular sexual expression, including reduction of risk of heart disease and the complications from heart disease, reduction of risk of two of the major leading forms of cancer, breast cancer and prostate cancer, um, re, reduction of depression and anxiety, increased ability to sleep. And Shen and Liu, by the way, just this year published a great article about the correlation between sexual expression and cognitive health, which is something that Beverly Whipple and her colleagues hadn't looked at. And I'm real excited about that because I know many of us are really concerned about dementia and our own cognitive well-being. So you might wonder why I'm asking this question. Why do older adults have sex? Nobody asks this question to young people, right? They never say to an 18-year-old, why do you have sex? They just assume that they're going to have sex because their hormones are raging and they need to. But we're not in the business of procreation anymore, although maybe some people still can, but most of us aren't interested in procreation, and most of us don't have much peer pressure about from our friends about whether or not we're having sex. So why do older adults have sex? Well, Terry Gewurtz-Medan and her colleague Liat Ayalon did a really cool study and found that people were interested in love, they're interested in commitment, and they're interested in companionship. And by the way, it's not about getting sex when you're older. It's about giving. It's about being generous. It's about offering. Really interesting stuff. The people at the University of Michigan teamed up with AARP a few years ago, and they found that 75% of older adults report sexual satisfaction. Now, that changes among different populations. And in fact, I and my colleagues in 2019 published an article on sexual satisfaction in LGBTQ older adults and found that for that population, internalized homophobia, resilience, and relationship satisfaction were all correlated with sexual satisfaction. But you can see that although there was very low, what we call internalized homophobia, there was very high resilience, high relationship satisfaction, but moderate sexual satisfaction. And what we found in our study was that relationship satisfaction was a predictor of sexual satisfaction. Now, some people have wondered about what sex means or what sexuality means. And across the lifespan, Mitchell and her colleagues published a really interesting model looking at a comprehensive approach to what they call sexual wellness. And you can see these four areas. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am going to go through two that are really important to us as older adults. The first one is sexual pleasure. And look what they talk about in terms of sexual pleasure. Self-determination, what I want for myself, consent, a topic that many of us in our generation and beyond have not gotten much information about. Young people talk about sexual consent all the time. They teach it in colleges and high schools now, but we never got that kind of sex ed. And don't even get me started about the lack of sex ed in our country. But consent particularly has never been a part of our education. And look at the other issues: safety, privacy, confidence, being able to talk about what you want and being able to ask for what you want, and that it's person related. It's about who I'm with, and it's also event related about where I am in my life and the context I'm in. So, sexual pleasure is a big part of sexual wellness. Another big part of it is sexual justice, which I think is a very cool word. And what these researchers found, and by the way, these are public health researchers, they're not sexuality researchers like the other people I cited, but they looked at things like sexual rights, the right to be who I want to be at this stage in my life. For many people, particularly for people who are in what we call sexual or gender minorities, or may be part of an alternative lifestyle, they may feel very uncomfortable when they have to move to a senior living community because they're not sure that they will be accepted uh, and given full sexual rights as a sexual citizen. So, sexual justice poses this idea that sexual wellness is part of a whole larger array of other global efforts to ensure equity, like environmental justice, racial justice, education justice, reproductive justice, etc. So I offer these two, but even though she and her colleagues had four different circles here, I just wanted to highlight two of them, basically because of our time constraints today. And she talks about sexual being that exists only in the context of all these circles. And what is sexual being? It's sexual safety and security, respect, and this idea, again, of sexual self-esteem that Harris and Orth talked about in their analysis of relationships. And then they also talk about resilience. So for some of us, we've had past sexual experiences that maybe we're not proud of, maybe we don't feel so good about, but that we need to be able to forgive ourselves for, and that we can offer ourselves self-determination in what remaining years we have of our lives. Because I wanted to tell you that comfort with sexuality is difficult. It's fun for me to talk about sex, but I know not everybody feels that comfortable. And so there are ways that we as older adults can, you'd be amazed at how open and forthright people are in many of my workshops who want to talk about these issues that they've really never had a chance to talk about before. So moving on, I wanted to ask you two questions. Many of the articles that I've read were only about the first question, what challenges you face. So it could be vaginal dryness, it could be erection difficulties, it could be chronic pain, it could be tenderness from surgeries, it could be chronic diseases, all of which could affect us and our sexual functioning. But unless we talk about the other side of the hand, the possibilities that exist that may not have existed before, we're doing ourselves a tremendous injustice. And that brings me to emergent pleasure. Now, emergent pleasure is my idea of what can be more fun than trying something out new on your body, even if you have no partner or if your partner is not interested in trying something new. And by that, I mean maybe talking about sex. There's a new book out. I don't know if you can see this in your screen. It's called Want by Gillian Anderson. She plays one of the mothers in a TV show called Sex Education. That's lots of fun. That was on Netflix a few years running, and I really recommend it. The students really know how to talk about sex in a way that they certainly never did in my sex ed classes. By the way, my sex ed class consisted of this: girls, keep your legs together. It didn't really work for many of us, but you understand, it didn't really talk about pleasure. And so what Gillian Anderson did was she just invited people to share their fantasies with her. And fantasy doesn't have to be enacted. It can just be something you read or think about or get ideas from. And so emergent pleasure can be anything from fantasy to some new sexual expression that you would be willing to try out. Either yourself, because let's not forget about solo sex, or as Betty Dodson, who was the queen of masturbation, who just died a couple of years ago, said, the great thing about masturbation is you never have to worry about someone telling you they have a headache. So in any case, she also said that masturbation was truly the most safest of safer sex, to partnered sex. And by partnered sex, it can be with one partner. And if you're interested in more than one partner, it can be with others as well. Some people are interested in friends with benefits now. I don't know if you've heard that term. Some people are interested in just hooking up, and some people just want to cuddle with the person that they're most comfortable with. All of which can be emergent pleasure. I don't necessarily talk about only one way of having sex, because I believe that we get a little bit stymied in that we think, oh, I have to perform like I did when I was in my 20s. We don't have the same body we had in our 20s or 30s or 40s. But for some people, penetrative intercourse or penis and vagina sexual intercourse may be what they consider to be the hallmark of sex. But as we get older, sex can be all different ways of expressing ourselves in a loving and intimate way. And I certainly would be happy to answer any questions about that when I finish my remarks. So, what are some of the major benefits? Well, I've talked about this idea of emergent pleasure, right? So, one of them is that the awareness of the pleasures of touch can be exciting and can be new and can be different. There's something in our sex ed world that we call skin hunger. Have you ever heard that term? I don't know if anybody's ever heard this. So, skin hunger is how much I want to be touched and where. And it changes over time. And so you might have, you might be in a relationship, a decades-long relationship, 30, 40 years, with someone who loved putting their tongue in your ear when you were younger. And now you just feel like, yuck, I don't want that anywhere near my ear. Get away from me. That's a different form of interest in touch that you have today as you did then. Or maybe it was, the back of your knee. It was just the most exciting part. And now it's maybe the back of your spine. What I'm trying to say is don't be stuck in what used to feel good, because you may develop an awareness of new types of touch that you weren't even aware of prior to these moments. Also, for many people, a major benefit of sexual expression is physical release and relaxation. And I want to say that for some of us, that release comes after an orgasm. And for others of us, an orgasm may not be a form of our sexual expression. It may not be working for us anymore. And that's perfectly okay, because the physical release can have other forms besides the release of that neurotransmitter hormone that people love to talk about, oxytocin. There may be some relaxation to just that incredible feeling of being touched and getting a foot massage. It is amazing. It feels fantastic. May not develop an orgasm, may, but in any case, it may be that moment of, ah, I can really relax now. There may be some decreased anxiety about our bodies. So for some of us, as we get older and we sag a little bit more and we have more bags and we have more wrinkles and we have places that are bulging that we never bulged and places that aren't bulging that we used to bulge, we might feel very strange about our bodies today. But what I want to say is loving your aging body also means you can lower your anxiety about your body. You don't have to fit in to that perfect size 8 or whatever it is now, size 1. I don't even know what the sizes are anymore. 20 something body. You don't have to worry about that, and have some moments to remember that there might be some ways that your body expresses itself differently now than it used to, and be prepared for some awkward moments. And awkward moments may happen because of something that emanates from your body that you weren't even sure about before, and just enjoy them and know that you don't have to worry about that anymore, because there is really no peer pressure about it. And I guess that's the thing I wanted to say is, we know our bodies better. We've got less hangups. We have more awareness, and maybe we don't have to worry about what the girls in the locker room are saying anymore, because we're not in that kind of locker room. And overall improvements in mental health and quality of life, as I said before, from Dr. Beverly Whipple's work and some of the newer researchers, really remind us that um, all of the all of the studies say that the most important reason that people give for aging well is connection. And it doesn't have to be sexual connection, it's connection, it's having a relationship. And so reminding all of us that we live in this very antisocial century, as that article in The Atlantic brought up a couple of weeks ago, we can do more than what the young people are doing, which is holding their phones between them and someone else. We can face someone face to face, eye to eye, knee to knee, and talk about issues that concern us, and have connection, real connection. And if it includes sexual connection, that can really enhance in other ways. And yet, we're living in a time where every day on the news, there's some other frightful bit of information about war, about coming famine, about um, changes to uh, what we've been used to. And so I just want to remind us that it's okay to feel what you're feeling right now, because it's hard to be okay. So how can we be okay? This is some stuff that I adapted from a wonderful sexuality educator, Natalie Malone, whom I heard just a couple months ago. And she said the same thing: connect with others, feel what you're feeling, express your desires and your discomforts. I don't know if you ever heard Brene Brown's wonderful TED Talk on vulnerability. Um, I would really recommend. It's a wonderful TED Talk. And she says being able to speak about what's difficult as well as what's easy really helps you form more connections and find joy. Notice your limits. A lot of people say to me, I used to think going out for a nice dinner and then coming home and having sex was great, but you know what? After dinner, we're digesting our food. It's probably not the best time to try to have sex. Find a way to have sex when your arthritis meds have kicked in, or you've just had a really good night's sleep and you're feeling wide awake. Notice what your timing is like, and reach out. Protect your time, meaning, if somebody is taking up too much of your time and it's not feeling joy, tell them you're busy. You got to do something else. And trust yourself. Please trust yourself. Trust your gut. Especially if you're newly dating in the dating world and you're worried about online dating. I can give you some pointers on that as well. And if you need to grieve about past losses, please do. Know that sometimes um, just talking about sex can bring up triggers of trauma and pain that we've had in our past. And get real about power. Know what power is and how sometimes sex is used in a um, uh, power play kind of way, and know that sometimes it's not used in as healthy a way. But finally, lastly, envision a positive future for yourself. Some of my friends who are sex therapists say that they love treating older couples because they don't mess around. I mean, they mess around maybe sexually, but what they mean is they're not, they're game to do their homework. They're game to really uh, think about how they can make some changes because they know that their time is not infinite. So envisioning a positive future for yourself. And big thanks to Natalie Malone for that. So lots of different ideas here. There's places where we care for ourselves, where we feel numb, where we start taking care of ourselves, or maybe where we take care of our sexual health, and maybe where we can take care of our soul. Loving your body is a way to begin, and that's how I started this with our body scan. And I wanted to just ask you one more time to go deep inside and think about your own body. As Oscar Wilde said, it's the only body you got, and it's yours. And so taking care of it means really finding ways to not just be critical of our bodies, but to love our bodies. I'm going to end in a couple of minutes. So think about what you can do to take care of your sexual health. And one last thing is to remember, even amid all the strife that's going on out in the world, and every time you turn on the news, please try to find a way to focus on pleasure. I'm doing a workshop on Sunday night, and I'm calling it Sexual Pleasure, a Revolutionary Act in a Time of Tyranny. It's kind of a big title, but it's for a group of college students, and they thought, yep, this is right up their alley. So please think about ways that you can focus on pleasure in whatever way pleasure means for you. So thank you so much. Thanks to Shaki, thanks to Joey. Let's stay connected. Here's my email address. It's pretty easy. It's just my first name, Jane@janefleischman.com. And there's my website. I've got tons of free information on my website, and I'd love for you to utilize it as much as you can. Actually, Shaki, you could make copies of some of this stuff on there and hand them out to people.
Yeah, so I'm going to make copies of the slide, the PDF that you sent for everyone that attended here.
Fabulous.
But
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you before everyone gets off.
Oh, no, we're not getting off. We're going to actually have questions now. So you're
Okay, well, I have one.
Good. I'm ready.
Could you discuss the increasing STI rate for persons 50 years of age or older and why that's happening?
Yeah, great question. So this is one of those stories that made it to the news. Are you familiar with the Villages in Florida? It's this giant senior living community. I think there's like 50,000 people there.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, most of the research was done there initially, and then it was across the country. So there's two reasons for this. One is it's not necessarily true that people are having fabulous orgies in these senior living communities. For some of you, that might be shock. For some other people, it might be sad news. But it's mostly, and it's a great question because as we see STI or sexually transmitted infection rates going up in ages 50 plus, there's three reasons why I would deduce that we're seeing them. Okay. Number one is people are not using protection. They're not using barrier protection, either condoms or dental dams. They're not using condoms for what reason? Shaki, why do you think people are not using condoms?
Oh, I have an idea.
Okay.
I believe that older adults are not using condoms because couple one, they feel like, well, they can't get pregnant.
Exactly.
So like, what's the reason? And another one is if they have a friend or a friend of the couple that they've known for a long time. They don't know what goes on sexually in that couple's relationship or vice versa. And they have unprotected sex, not knowing that that person may have dipped out on their marriage or whatever.
Great. Perfect. And by the way, that first thing you mentioned about, well, I can't get pregnant. Right, of course. But we can use condoms for prevention of disease, not just prevention of pregnancy. And so you're right on. And there's another part about condoms, which is sometimes people don't feel that they have the right to ask. They don't have the right to ask. And so it's another way of being in heightening our self-determination and our self-esteem. The second reason, I believe, is that we have had such paltry and incredibly poor sex education that we didn't teach older adults about how STIs were transmitted. And the third thing is, and this is really the most important part of the whole thing, is that for many older adults, the idea of having sex can be so exciting that we don't want to curtail it in any way. And yet there's lots of studies about feel in terms of penis feel and vaginal feel when there is a condom on, that there are condoms that almost feel like the real thing. And so I would say that your question is a really great one. And it speaks to this idea of emergent pleasure, right? Because if we can have pleasure without worrying about chlamydia or syphilis or any type of sexually transmitted infection, we're going to have a lot more fun and a lot less anxiety. Thanks for that great first question. And do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, we have one that can you address menopausal dryness, ED, expectations related to these issues?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And by the way, I just wanted to let you know, I have a lot of, these are all the articles you didn't have to read to come to this workshop. So I have a lot of articles here, and I'm happy to send you any of them at all. I have PDFs of all these. So if you just write to me, I love hearing from people. I'd be happy to get those out to you. So let me talk about some of these challenges, really important. Oh, and by the way, before I do that, I just wanted to tell you that all the photos on here were, all the pottery were by Emma Tabachnik. She's my niece. I just love her. There she is with her husband. And you can follow her on Instagram. But I've been looking for great photos for my PowerPoints because I get really tired of PowerPoint. And Emma said I could use her photos. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here, so we'll get rid of that gray line. So your question about challenges. Let's start with vaginal dryness. Why is there vaginal dryness? The Skene's glands at the very base of the vaginal canal are in charge of producing personal lubrication. Personal lubrication is, no, that's not good, is developed because of estrogen. And when anyone with a female reproductive system or a woman has gone through menopause, estrogen seriously decreases. Without estrogen, the Skene's glands can't make any personal lubrication, and so the vaginal canal is much drier. The good news is that there are lubes on the market that are now, you're going to love and hate this maybe, developed just for older adults. I love it because it means that I can give out, if I were here in the Bicota Center, I would have a basket of condoms, dental dams, and lube that I would want all of you to take home.
We have a basket of condoms here, Dr. Fleischman.
Oh, you're the best. So I want to get you on the Uber Lube train. They send out free samples of lube all the time to me, and you can have them at your center. Let me see if I can get some. Or try to get some. Shaki, at the end of this, let's talk and I'll get you some of these. These are developed this lube was developed just for older adults sexuality, because one of the things that, that they talk about is that a lot of lubes have chemicals and other products in them. This is really clean, and all it has is vitamin E, which they think is good for us. So the good news is, even though your body is not producing personal lube, you can purchase it. around erection difficulties, and I don't like to use the term erectile dysfunction because it sounds too clinical. I like the term erection differences. In fact, one of my friends in the sex toy business talks about softer sex, and there's actually a soft cock week. Okay, this may be too much information, but softer sex is this idea that you can still have sex even if you can't have an erection. And I really, really appreciate the idea that for some people with penises or men who have relied on and have had sustained erections without too much trouble for many years, and as they've gotten older, their erections have not worked as well or have not been as reliable. There are many different ways that we can still achieve pleasure. Remember my term emergent pleasure? So one of the emergent pleasure issues is that there are toys available now that are, let me see if I have one right here. That are available for basically the idea that you can, I don't have, I can't find it. Wait, I think I know it. Oh, here it is. It's called the Pulse. And the Pulse fits on the base of the penis. And so it fits sort of on the base here. And it has a vibrating motor on the inside for the person with the penis and has a vibrating motor on the outside for the person with the vaginal canal. And each person wears a little wristwatch. It's very high tech. And you control yours and they control theirs. And it sort of gives you a feeling of entering. It's not exactly the same, I understand, but it's a revolutionary idea. And I've talked with many of the students in my workshop who have tried this and have found it to be really useful. There's also penis pumps. There's, of course, Viagra and Cialis. There's surgery. There's so many possibilities now. If you want to feel that sensibility of an erect penis, and there's also ways that we can think about sex that doesn't have to do with penetration, that can be really emergent pleasure. All of these are really available to you, but we've got to change or shift our idea of what sex means. And we can't just be narrow. We have to open up our ideas that sex, for instance, may not include an orgasm, may not include penetration. And then there's a whole wealth of other ideas that can be out there that can be fun. And joy is what I'm all about. Thanks for that great question. Any others? I know that Joey had to leave, but oh, I see a whole bunch of things on the chat. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I don't see any more questions, but
You guys have any questions? Anyone have any?
it's about 12, so I don't want to go too long because I know I just asked people to come for an hour, but if you guys in Bicota Center have any questions that you don't feel like asking me out loud, which I completely understand. You know, Shaki, if I was in your center, I would set up a couple of chairs in the corner. I'd say, come see me and we'll talk. But write to me, okay? I'll put my Shaki, you have my email address. So
yeah, I'm gonna, when I print out the slides, I'm gonna put the email address so that if anyone has any questions, they can email you if they need to.
Okay, but I just wanted to say a big thanks to you and to Joey, but also to all of you who came out today and were online. And I just really appreciate, I couldn't do what I do without all of you. And if you have any thoughts or ideas or disagreements or comments, please get in touch with me. I would love to talk to you. Thanks so much. Shaki, thanks again.
No, Dr. Fleischman, thank you. I've searched high and low trying to find someone to do a presentation on this very important topic. And of course, there's way more. We will have you back again if you're if you wouldn't mind,
I would
because there's
love
so
it.
much more to talk about. We kind of just touched on the surface. And I also wanted to put a shameless plug in there that tomorrow here at Bicota, to celebrate Valentine's Day, you know, just to show that it's not all about romantic love. Friendship is also very sweet. So we're having a Friendship is Sweet lounge hour in our lounge
I love
tomorrow
it.
afternoon.
I love
Desserts
it.
will be available. And we might have some condoms spread out in case they don't all disappear today.
That's great. You know, a lot of people have asked me about speed dating.
Yes,
And
we want to do something on that as well.
And I said, yeah, I love to do that. And also we could do speed friending, right? Because it's not just about dating. It could be just connecting with another individual to have a friendship. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that.
That's
I love
right.
that. All right. Well, thanks again. See
Thank you
all.
so much. Really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Great job. And I'll be
Bye,
in
you
touch soon.
all. Okay.
All right.
Nice to see you. I'm waving to all of you.
They're waving back.